Ladies and gentlemen, would you please take your seats? Yes, please take your seats and turn off any electronic devices. Our ceremony will begin shortly. Good afternoon, and welcome to the annual Acker and Hall of Fame Award Ceremony. We are especially excited about this year's event as we also celebrate the Defense Acquisition University's 25th anniversary, along with the 25th year of the Alumni Association's Acker Award presentation. Looking at all our awardees, past and present, we see the DAU is much more than a training institution. It is an integral part of the defense acquisition community. Those we recognize come from different parts of that community, but all have helped make us successful in what really matters, developing the best acquisition workforce to support our warfighters. First, a warm welcome to our past Hall of Fame awardees who are in attendance. Inducted in 2007, Mr. Norm McDaniel. In 2010, in 2011, Mr. Frank Anderson, our former president. Also in 2011, Mr. Paul McMahon, joined by his wife Sharon. In 2012, Mr. Dave Ahern. And in 2013, Mr. John Hickok, joined by his wife Nancy. We also welcome Vice Admiral Dave Van Lett, United States Navy retired and chairman of the DAU Board of Visitors. Ms. Renee Thomas Rizzo, Director of Human Capital Initiatives. Our DAU leadership, faculty, and staff. And finally, to our Acker and Hall of Fame inductees and their family members, who we will later introduce, welcome. Our first presentation is the David D. Acker Skill in Communication Award, sponsored by the DAU Alumni Association. This award is presented annually in memory of the late Professor David Acker, to an individual who has promoted and communicated acquisition management and leadership excellence to the acquisition workforce. David Acker, as a staff specialist in the Directorate of Defense Research and Engineering, played an active role in preparing the charter for the original Defense Systems Management College. He served the college with distinction for many years as a professor of management. In 1983, he helped establish the DAU Alumni Association, and he served on its board of directors until his passing in 1992. We are honored to have Professor Acker's daughters, Suzanne Acker-Gombarowicz and Marty Acker, with us here today for the presentation. Please join me in welcoming them. I'd now like to introduce and welcome DAU Alumni Association Vice President for Operations, Mr. Wayne Glass. Wayne?
Good afternoon. The David D. Acker Skill in Communication Award is the most prestigious of the awards sponsored by the DAU Alumni Association. This year, the Alumni Association Board did not have to look far to find an outstanding recipient. Through this year's awardee's outstanding leadership and communication skills, he has brought together industry and government personnel. I'll let you see for yourself.
Years ago, my tactical officer, the major in charge of my company, when you did something great, would say you were a prince and great warrior. Well, Craig McKinley is truly a prince and great warrior.
I was quite impressed with your leadership style. I learned from it. And I was also quite impressed with your communication skills.
Over the years, I've read his President's Perspective column in the National Defense Magazine, and it is an outstanding column.
He's a visionary, he's inspirational, and he combines all that into one personality.
And one article in particular struck me, and that was where he said that the defense industrial base is a part of force structure. I thought that was very insightful and a new way of thinking about the industrial base.
We worked together to try to bring government and industry closer together, to bring the industry students in, and I've appreciated that kind of support that you provided.
Not only has he provided insight on topics affecting the defense industrial base, but he's also presented topics concerning national defense, which have been very insightful.
I think anyone who tries to emulate and follow the example that Craig offers is doing a great service for themselves.
We are honored to present this year's Acker Award to General Craig R. McKinley, United States Air Force retired and former President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Defense Industrial Association. Mr. Woolsey, Ms. Gombarowicz, Ms. Acker, and General Kinley, would you please join me on the stage?
Thank you.
The David D. Acker Skill and Communication Award is presented to General Craig R. McKinley for his outstanding leadership in bringing together industry and government personnel to address national security issues, for successfully championing technologies and solutions that enhance the capabilities of our national defense, for consistently and effectively communicating with members of the defense acquisition workforce to stimulate critical thinking and improve their education and training experience, for advancing policies that streamline the acquisition process, and for his tireless dedication to meeting the needs of our national security community.
Proven that in your prolific writing. Sometimes we look at these things and it's hard to find the things people said. Not true with General McKinley. He's been a prolific writer and speaker. He's built that what to say in 38 years in the Air Force and always kept the perspective of the warfighter in mind as he moved on in his career. He's talked about and written about the most important relationship between organizations, in my view, between industry and the government, and all the things involved with that, from the details of the pain of continuing resolutions, which our next honoree can certainly relate to FMS, to how industry has changed so much recently, how the defense industry is not what it once was. Not only that, he brings a world perspective in looking over his writings. I was struck by a piece he wrote about hosting an iftar, the fast-breaking ceremony that as part of the Ramadan celebration. I thought that was especially appropriate because we're in the month of Ramadan now, and our times so much need this quote, that hosting an iftar reinforced my belief that we must all work together to advance peace and prosperity and to build a more compassionate world. What a great message to include in your communications, and thank you for that, and congratulations, your award.
Well, what an honor and a true belief for me to be here today. It's fantastic to be part of this ceremony. So, Jim Woolsey, thank you for your leadership here at the Defense Acquisition University. Mr. Wayne Glass, thank you for your service as Vice President of Operations for the DAU Alumni Association, members of the DAU staff and faculty, and obviously the alums who are in the room today. What a great turnout you have. Susie and Marty, what a great privilege it is for me, through your father, to have the honor and privilege of this award. Thank you so much for being here. You add a great deal to this ceremony. Mr. Kendall, thanks for your great leadership. It was truly a pleasure to work with you. We never asked Mr. Kendall to do something that he didn't do extremely well for industry, for National Defense Industrial Association, for our military. And he once told me that of all the accolades he had, he likes to be remembered as a soldier. So I got it wrong once. I hope I didn't get it wrong today. I can't fully express how touched I am at receiving this award and how undeserving I feel in accepting it. Professor Acker dedicated a significant portion of his effort at DAU in researching, writing, and lecturing on this very complex topic of defense acquisition and attempting to explain it and improve it. As the program for today's ceremony notes, he authored over 175 articles on this topic, always seeking to make the process better so that the interests of the taxpayer would be protected. And those of us on the receiving end, the warfighters, as I was for so many years in the United States Air Force, would always get the best that technology could offer. And I must confess that during the large majority of my years in the Air Force, I never thought much about all the effort and energy involved in producing the aircraft I flew and in updating the avionics surrounding me in the cockpit. But I was always comfortable that the platforms I operated were capable and reliable, and those who maintained them were very proficient, and that along with my fellow airmen, it would provide us the means for mission success. During my time after retiring from active duty, while at the Air Force Association and then at the National Defense Industrial Association, I've attempted to inform and educate those in both government and the public that the contemporary defense industry is very different from the one that President Eisenhower referenced in his famous address of January 17, 1961, when he inserted the phrase military-industrial complex into the American vocabulary. Of course, in my view, there were other elements in his comments that were equally important but less noted, leaving one national security expert to note that this speech was one condemned to be frequently quoted but seldom read. But even if that military-industrial complex was what we had then, 56 years ago, it's not what we have today. Today's defense industrial base is more concentrated, significantly smaller, and more widely distributed than that of the past. Since that is the case, we need acquisition policies and procedures adopted to what we actually have, not ones tenaciously reflecting what we once had. If I have helped to make that case and expand that awareness, I believe Professor Acker would be pleased, although in comparison to his efforts, mine are certainly quite modest. So Susie and Marty, in that regard, and with that understanding, I humbly accept the David D. Acker Award and am honored that, using whatever calculus that was employed, you felt me worthy of it. I would also note that Tom Davis and I have had a wonderful time at NDIA. Tom is really the brains behind this old fighter pilot. He helps me through many, many of my articles that you referred to, Jim. And Len Vincent before him here at DAU. NDIA is so proud to have that relationship, and we thank you for that. Thank you very much for this deep honor.
Thank you, General McKinley. This year marks the 14th induction ceremony for the Defense Acquisition University Hall of Fame. DAU's status as an internationally recognized corporate university is directly attributable to those who have helped set the university's direction and to the dedicated staff and faculty who, over the years, have delivered responsive learning assets to Defense Acquisition Workforce members. This afternoon, we will induct 5 individuals into the Hall of Fame who have made significant and enduring contributions to the Defense Acquisition University. And now, our first inductee.
He has dedicated his life and his passion to commitment to this great nation and keeping it free.
He has been somebody who has been able to communicate in an exemplary way, particularly with respect to using stories and personal experience to illuminate points that he's wanted to make. Both in writing and in speaking, I've never seen anybody do it better.
There is no greater advocate for the acquisition workforce than Frank Kendall. His commitment and his passion is the direct reason why we have the most qualified acquisition workforce since the inception of Dalwea.
He has had an impeccable career in which he has spanned not only the service as a uniformed military member, as a senior executive within the defense industry, and also as our defense acquisition executive and in other roles as a member of the senior executive service.
He has basically taken the data that we have, worked to improve it, and then made it fundamental to the way that he and the leadership of the services and DoD make decisions.
Our certification rates are at an all-time high. Our workforce is highly educated. We've almost doubled our bachelor's degrees across the acquisition workforce over the past few years.
It's an incredible testament to the passion that he personifies.
Keeping the end in mind, Mr. Kendall has always had the welfare of the warfighter and the ability of the acquirer to support the warfighter as his core intent and his core motivation.
Mr. Kendall's energy and untiring advocacy of the acquisition workforce and to the acquisition professionals is his legacy. We miss him greatly, but the things that he has done for acquisition and the acquisition workforce will be around for many years to come. Thank you, Mr. Kendall, for all of your help and all of your support over these past few years.
Our first inductee for 2017 is the Honorable Frank Kendall, who is also a previous recipient of the Acker Award. Mr. Kendall, please join Mr. Woolsey on stage for the award presentation. The Honorable Frank Kendall is awarded the DAU Hall of Fame Award in recognition of his service to the Defense Acquisition University from 2012 to 2017. As Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics, Mr. Kendall effectively enhanced workforce professionalism with his Better Buying Power initiatives. He embodied the leader as teacher by his extensive participation in DAU classes and his many keynote addresses at acquisition events. Because of his strong support, DAU significantly expanded its mission assistance program to provide customized workshops to help field organizations improve acquisition outcomes. His strategic direction was crucial to DAU achieving international recognition as a premier training organization.
So I hope you'll indulge me with a little bit longer than normal amplifying comments, because this honoree certainly warrants it. As you all know, he brought a tremendous background to his job, had all of the tools you needed to succeed at what may be the most difficult job anywhere. Tremendous physical and intellectual energy, which I appreciate more today sitting in a nice auditorium on a sunny day than I did during the third hour of 4-hour meetings in 3A912A. But just tremendous energy to what he did. All people who've held this job can lay claim to doing a very difficult job, but as Renee so well said, you're gonna leave a tremendous legacy. First, in Better Buying Power. The name will go away, but this wasn't a buzzword thing anyway. It was about performing, about things that are going to continue to live on, like should cost, like thinking about incentives for the workforce and between industry and government, and thinking about the workforce, the professionalism that you so often emphasized. Again, as I said, many people can leave saying they've done better, done good things at AT&L, but how appropriate that the AT&L who had a sign outside his door that famously said, "In God we trust, all others bring data," how appropriate that AT&L leaves with the data. In a presentation like this, I've never wanted to bring up a chart before, but I would love to bring up the cost growth chart that actually shows that there's less cost growth now than there used to be. There are fewer Nunn-McCurdy's now than there used to be. There's an annual report, which is I hope, lasting habit of the acquisition community to write down in numbers and analysis how we're doing. And of course, there's a book, which Mr. Kendall will be kind enough to sign after our ceremony if you're interested in that. It has gotten very good reviews, as has Mr. Kendall's work, including from the GAO. I mean, not many people get that. Praise is not what the GAO does. And then especially for the workforce. As was alluded to in the film, we could always count on Mr. Kendall to not only emphasize the importance of the workforce, and in fact, BBP is about the workforce. A Guide to Help You Think was what one of them was called. It's about what we all have to do. But he came here and always answered our requests for time with students to make videos, to meet leaders and members of the workforce, to give DAU and HCI the support that we need to more numbers, to have those high certification rates and do all the things we've done. Truly a tremendous advocate of the workforce, a great patriot, and leaves a legacy both at DAU and for the country overall. And thank you very much for all of that.
I miss you guys a lot, I gotta tell you. I was told I have 2 minutes, so I will make an attempt at that. I'm sitting here reminded of a couple of things. One is the first time I stood at this podium as the Principal Deputy Undersecretary and spoke to the workforce for the first time. It was 7 years ago, plus a little bit more. Another is almost to the date 50 years ago when I entered West Point and started on the path of becoming a soldier, Craig mentioned. Actually, by the way, it was engineer, but that's okay. Third time, you're going to get it, okay? In any event, when we entered West Point, one of the things we had to do was memorize a lot of stuff. The principal learning method for new cadets was rote memorization of a lot of things. And one of the things we had to memorize was a quote from Douglas MacArthur, and a short version of which is that there is no substitute for victory. It's longer than that, but that's kind of the important part of it. My counterpart to that is, for the acquisition world that we live in, there is no substitute for professionalism. And there is no better institution at building, creating, and sustaining professionalism than DAU. So I'm particularly honored by this today, Jim. It's really a delight to have the recognition. I'm blown away by that film. I did not expect that. That was pretty special. Can I get a copy, show my wife? And I don't know what will endure from my several years of a leadership position in defense acquisition. But when I think about it, I agree with Jim that the slogan, better buying power, probably will not endure because new leaders have new slogans. But the things that we did are fundamental. A lot of them, as I was talking to Secretary Carter the other day, they were common sense. But what people often need in our system is reinforcement from their leadership and support to do the right thing. And if there's anything else I did, it was try to give people that. And also to impress upon people both inside and outside the department that it is the professionals in our system, in industry and in government, who are going to make a difference at the end of the day. They are going to improve acquisition by what they do. And in strengthening them and making them more capable and reinforcing the things that we really want from them that are beneficial to the taxpayer and the warfighter is really the path to improving acquisition. And I think we demonstrated that pretty clearly through some of the things that you mentioned earlier, Jim. So I hope that lasts. And if people are making better decisions and they go on in their careers and make better decisions, that'll be what will matter. It will not be the organizational boxes that the Congress draws and creates and breaks up. It will not be the contract types that they tell us to try to use more of or other things that they put in place. I share some of the frustration of the Congress, but I wish they would stop trying to help us quite so much and reinforce the importance of our professionals, because that's what makes a difference at the end. So thank you. I appreciate the recognition. It's a very great honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kendall. And now, our second Hall of Fame inductee.
A few years ago, my father was sick, and I'm not supposed to cry, I'm sorry.
He would push me to do things such as participate in classes full of SESs, or speak in front of large groups that, for me as an introvert, as an extreme introvert, are things that I really avoid.
But it was Dick who really helped me understand that we weren't just teaching skills, we were trying to improve people, to make them better.
I manage all the DAU strategic partnerships, about 200 of them, several of them with industry. And then once that program got started, Dick, involved with training, was the one that managed it.
Dick reached out to me to help me and my family with some of the paperwork and stuff that I had to do back home in Washington State.
He was involved in the Honor Flight program, and this is where the veterans are brought back to the Washington, D.C. area so that they can see the monuments, so that they can talk to other veterans and share.
He really pushed me to get out of my comfort zone.
He really made me better.
He truly has made me find my voice.
Just that one gesture totally made a difference with me. And my father passed last year, but Dick is eternally in my heart. I'm eternally grateful, and I'm so happy that he's receiving this honor.
Our second inductee for 2017 is Mr. Dick David. Joining Dick today is his wife, Ruth. Mr. David, please join Mr. Woolsey on stage for the award presentation. Mr. Richard A. David is awarded the DAU Hall of Fame Award in recognition of his service to the Defense Acquisition University from 2008 to 2014. As Learning and Development Director, Mr. David created numerous highly effective programs for professional development that provided leadership, faculty, and staff with the key skills they needed to accomplish the DAU mission. He did this by planning and implementing innovative events, such as the mid-level and senior-level manager meetings and the Emerging Leaders Program, and by enabling participation by faculty in industry program management courses. Mr. David's exemplary contributions to the professional development of DAU will continue to benefit the university far into the future.
So Dick, there's not much more you can do for an organization than touch people like that, and less dramatic, but just as important is he helped us sharpen the saw. And what I mean by that is helping DAU be good at what we do, with programs to develop faculty, programs to develop people, and most importantly to touch people the way you did and share their concerns and help them work through every day. I think that was very touching and a great way to commemorate your great service to DAU, for which we thank you.
Mr. Woolsey, General McKinley, Mr. Kendall, faculty, staff, and guests. When I got the call about the Hall of Fame award for me, I said, wow, this is really great. They've come up with a team award now. Because my accomplishments were simply a result of the team effort of the staff and the faculty coming together to help me implement the programs for them. And I would never have been as successful as I was if it was not for the people within the organization. And I had first thought I would name them off, but we'd be here for too long for me to do that, and I'm sure I would forget one of them, and I did not want to do that. So I am deeply humbled by this opportunity, by this award. I'm extremely proud of what has been accomplished here, and I'm just really gratified for this recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick. And now our third Hall of Fame inductee.
I've had an opportunity to work side by side with you as a fellow instructor. I've known you as a leader within the organization, as a course manager, a department chair, an international department chair, and for times too, as an acting associate dean for academics.
You always made it look easy. Everything you ever did, you just made it look easy because you have one standard, and that is award-winning type work.
Standard of excellence that you provided to the regions while you were here is phenomenal.
Before the regions were fully established, I remember you supported the West region by teaching at Edwards Air Force Base and then in Honolulu.
We're always prepared for everything you did. Always put a lot of effort into your presentations.
You also took over the As a Professor program, and there we got to see you work like no other. We were at 46% response time, but immediately once you took it over, we were at 100%, and we are at 100% today.
You were always a total professional. So congratulations, and very much deserved.
You made a difference. You made a difference to the students who attended your courses and to our customers for which you provided performance learning initiatives and opportunities. You made a difference to the faculty and staff here at the Midwest region, specifically those that you coached, mentored, and in some cases supervised. You made a difference to your counterparts throughout the DAU enterprise. You made a difference to the defense acquisition workforce.
Our third inductee for 2017 is Mr. Michael LaCroix. Joining Mr. LaCroix at Midwest Region is his wife, Madeline. Mr. Travis Stewart, Dean of DAU's Midwest Region, will now present Mr. LaCroix his award. Mr. Michael P. LaCroix is awarded the DAU Hall of Fame Award in recognition of his service to the Defense Acquisition University from 2000 to 2014.
Congratulations on your induction into the DAU Hall of Fame and for a job well done. The video that we just watched, as well as the certification that was just read, did a great job of highlighting your accomplishments and your career throughout DAU. But if you would mind, I'd like to get just a little personal and talk a little bit about the difference that you made in me as Dean of the Midwest region. I could always count on you. I could count on you to do the right thing. I could count on you as an instructor, specifically in times when we worked side by side, teaching together, and I rode your coattail. I could count on you to be a leader when I asked you to be one. I could count on you to be the individual who would tell me when I was doing right, and that was most of the time, by the way. And I could always count on you to tell me when I was wrong, and for that I will be forever grateful. But more importantly, I can count on you for allowing me to have the honor to call you a friend. Congratulations, job well done, well deserved. Thank you, sir.
This was an amazing surprise when I got the phone call, and I'd like to thank Dean Stewart for all those words. And all the team, the whole team, as Evan said earlier, without the team, you can't even put on a class. You can't do anything. It takes every single member of the team working together to get that to happen. So I thank that, and I thank all of you for that, because I couldn't accomplish anything without that. I want to throw a special thanks out to my former department chair and supervisor, Scott Williams. Scott's one of those kind of supervisors that makes sure he does the extra step. If anything comes across his desk, if it's a request for a department, a course manager or a course manager regional rep or somebody to work on a special project or even an award request, Scott takes a look at it, evaluates it, bounces it against anybody in his department and decides what he's going to do about it. And once he decides what he's going to do about it, he takes his energy and his effort and his talent and he makes it happen. And I'm sure he had a great deal of influence on this one. So thank you, Scott. And I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't say something about my wife, because she's been my support throughout all the time here at DAU and the rest of my life, basically. And without her, who even accompanied me on trips out of town to go teach, I wouldn't be able to do anything either, because, again, that support is really necessary to pull anything off. So I'm greatly honored and humbled and thankful to be inducted into the DAU Hall of Fame. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Michael. And now our fourth Hall of Fame inductee.
thing I learned most valuable was to know your pig. And if you want to know more about that, you probably need to talk to Tim.
Typical day with Tim, I would say, Tim, good morning, how you doing? And he would say to me,
it's too early to tell. So I learned that the clock, even though there's 24 hours, it's always too early to tell.
He was a great mentor, a leader, a boss, but most of all, a great friend.
Well, the number one thing I learned from Tim Shannon is that St. Patrick's Day is a national holiday.
That was his big Irish day, and so he would always have something at the office there for us for his special day.
He was inspiring in so many ways. He gave me the ins and outs of what to do and how to move up.
He would give us, in Air Force terms, the vectors that we needed, and then he would get out of our way and let us do the job.
He believed in me when I'm not so sure I believed in myself. He told me things that I could do, I did do.
I really, really appreciated him being there when we needed him and staying out of my business and letting me do what I needed to do to meet the DAU mission and also to support our customers.
Our fourth inductee for 2017 is Mr. Tim Shannon. Joining Mr. Shannon today is his wife, Mary, his daughter, Mrs. Erin Rogers, and his grandsons, Connor, Evan, and Brendan Rogers. Mr. Shannon, please join Mr. Woolsey on stage for the award presentation. Mr. John T. Shannon is awarded the DAU Hall of Fame Award in recognition of his service to the Defense Acquisition University from 1991 to 2016. As faculty member, department chair, and dean, Mr. Shannon supervised the highly effective delivery of nearly 100 training courses to thousands of members of the acquisition workforce. Through his leadership and vision while serving as director of DAU's Curriculum Development Organization, he evolved DAU's programs to meet customer needs for training and continuous learning, as well as significantly enhancing faculty development. His extraordinary talents, dedication, and selfless service directly contributed to better DoD acquisition outcomes and DAU's recognition as a world-class training organization.
So Tim, you're somebody else I could go on and on about, and at your retirement I did. So I won't do that again here, but you could see again how Tim touched so many people. He also is a plank owner at DAU. We have our 25-year anniversary, and he was here at the beginning. He's held most of the jobs there are to have at DAU, and for most of them, he was the first one to hold them. But most importantly, he led the organization that still today creates the great courses DAO is known for, and particularly helped us get so much of our content online, when that was a new thing to do, a lot of work to make that happen, to put all the pieces together to make DAU the institution it is today. We owe you a lot and are honored and pleased to give you this award. Congratulations.
Whatever success I've had here is due, I think, to three distinct groups of people. First is the DAU leadership that I was honored to serve under: Lynn Vincent, Frank Anderson, Jamie Moran, Dr. McMichael, Katrina, and Mr. Woolsey, you. My regret is that we didn't have more time together, because I think the roaring 20s in the 21st century are going to be fun. Second group is the staff and faculty of the entire DAU who, whatever opportunity to excel I was given by the leadership, made it happen. And I, as Lenny Manning said, got out of the way and watched a lot of stuff, particularly the Capital Northeast people, the people in the organization formerly known as LKIC, and the DAU headquarters really supported me when I needed it. The third group is my family. They were behind me, or still behind me. I am not bored in retirement by any stretch of the imagination, especially when we did the first DAU transformation, because we had a number of wonderful meetings that began at 6 o'clock at night. Not that Frank Anderson got more energy as the day went on instead of less, but there is empirical data to support that, Mr. Kendall. But they were there throughout the whole thing. When I missed dinner, or I missed a ball game, or I missed whatever, they understood, and I think they still understand. One other thing, yesterday was my birthday, and this is a wonderful birthday present. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And now our fifth and final Hall of Fame inductee.
He's been a mentor, he's been a friend, he's been a sponsor, been a source of ideas and inspiration.
He's been a role model for all of the faculty and staff.
An individual who can collaborate and get disparate parties to come together to essentially create good solutions and good ways ahead.
When I reported to the Pentagon as a requirements officer, Jesse was the one that took me under his wing, told me how the building worked, and told me what I needed to do to be successful.
He has shown the ability to demonstrate by actions what a servant leader means.
No matter how complex the situation is, Jesse can be counted upon to essentially find it and bring it to light.
Jesse Stewart has been one of the original plank holders at DSMC and has been a cornerstone and a change agent.
When I came to the 20-week program managers course, Jesse was my section's advisor. A group of crusty Navy captains, Jesse asked the challenging questions that raised our thinking to a level higher than the basic coursework.
Since the time I've come to DSMC, I've been blessed that Jesse has been one of a thought partner and a second intellect for me.
When I was about to become a father again at age 58, Jesse was the one that arranged a baby shower for my wife and me to make sure that we knew the team was behind us, notwithstanding the jokes about strollers as senior citizen walkers.
I have rarely seen his equal. He's a tremendous leader, a tremendous mentor, and an extraordinarily good friend.
Our final inductee for 2017 is Mr. Jesse Stewart. Joining Mr. Stewart today is his wife, Sue. Mr. Stewart, please join Mr. Woolsey on stage for the award presentation. Mr. Jesse J. Stewart, Jr. is awarded the DAU Hall of Fame Award in recognition of his service to the Defense Acquisition University from 1991 to 2017. As an executive faculty member of the Defense Systems Management College, Mr. Stewart created many of DAU's most innovative courses, which had a profound impact on generations of program managers and program executive officers. As Executive Secretary for the Acquisition Management Functional Group, Mr. Stewart significantly improved course effectiveness and established functional integrated product team processes adopted by all functional areas. He also developed acquisition program transition workshops to achieve timely startup of new programs and better collaboration between government and industry.
Thank you, congratulations. Jesse is a great way to finish the ceremony today and also to talk about both the past and the future. As Pat said in the video, Jesse is also a plank holder at DAU. We're here at the very beginning, including at the time that the DWIA law was put together and helped shape that to build not only DAU, but the way the workforce is trained today. But many of the things he did are actually leading the way to what we want to do in the future. Thank you for all you've done for the executive courses at DSMC, which are a cornerstone of what we do today and what we'll do in the future, and for really pushing us ahead with what we now call performance earning with the transition workshops, the things we do to help people every day. You've been there at the beginning, and the things you've done continue on into the future. Thank you, and congratulations.
Well, I'm really pleased and honored by this award. I look at it after 25 years here, there's been one thing that's been constant. That's called change. It doesn't matter what you want to do, it's going to change. And the best thing to do with that, to make things work better, is to look at it as an opportunity to go forward and to look at how you do things. I mentioned a couple things on workshops and the WIA and that sort of thing. Fundamentally, what that allowed me to do was to go into program offices, to go into the way the workforce operates, and it allowed me to try to come up with some solutions that would work. And we saw that in the transition workshops, that we have a good idea of how programs think, operate, and put things together. And there's some wonderful opportunities yet to be reaped out there, and I'm sure that DAU will work to that in the future. Most of what I did was in teams. The only time I had a real boss is my wife, Sue, down here. And I have to thank her for kind of keeping me in line, but as well as also to put up with me spending 25 years here and close to 30 in the Navy. But all of this comes together. I wish you all, as you go forward as a university, best of luck, that you work through the changes, realizing that what we did last year is not what we'll do next year. And that includes my retirement. With that, thank you very much.
Please join me in a round of applause for this year's ACCR awardee and Hall of Fame inductees. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's award ceremony. Following the departure of the official party and honorees, please join them for a reception in the Hirsch Center. And as Mr. Woolsey mentioned, Mr. Kendall will be hosting a book signing in Hirsch as well. Thank you.